Hello everyone, and welcome to Animal Biology, or Biology 3840. My name is Mariah Campbell, and I'll be your instructor this semester. We're going to begin a little bit of information about myself. I hope to also get to know you guys throughout this semester as well. But my name, as I said, is Mariah Campbell. I completed my undergraduate and graduate degrees both at Georgia State University. So I'm very, very familiar with this university and the culture and everything in the classes. My graduate research was centered on the antimicrobial and antibiofilm activities of plant-derived compounds, and I completed my graduate studies actually in July of this year. So I just got my PhD, and now I'm really excited to teach you guys in this animal biology course. I have an incredible amount of interests and hobbies. Some of them that are on the top of the list are traveling. As you can see in the pictures to the side, I love traveling places, trying new things, having new experiences. And like traveling and having new experiences, this is also a new experience for me. So we'll both be learning together. I also enjoy learning languages. I've taught myself Japanese and I'm currently learning Chinese. And I also used to speak Spanish. I love to sew, and I love trying new foods. Anything and everything, well, with some limit, I love to try. One really important thing about me is how to contact me. So my email is mcampbell29@gsu.edu, and this is the email that you will use to contact me. There's more information regarding how to send emails to me with questions and things detailed in the syllabus. Speaking of the syllabus, there are a couple of key points that I want to point out. I do want you to read the syllabus completely, and if you have any questions about anything that's detailed there, to contact me. But some key things is that there is a syllabus quiz that I would like you to complete, and it's due by August 31st at 11:59 p.m. But there's also a pre-course survey, and this survey is very important for me because this is my first time teaching. But in addition to that, I also want to know more about you and what you want from this course and your background and your expectations, so that I may shape this course to better fit kind of some things that the class is interested in. So please fill out that pre-course survey. I really, really greatly appreciate it. There are 13 weekly quizzes in this course, and they will be due at 11:59 p.m. every Friday. There are also 5 exams, 4 actual section exams, and then there's 1 cumulative final, and this is optional. So please see the syllabus for more details on the final exam. Additionally, there will be assignments, various assignments throughout this course, and there will be a post-course survey. The post-course survey is important for me to evolve this class for the next semester and going forward. So your input in this class is very, very valuable to me. So please fill out these surveys. And then finally, it will be an extra credit opportunity, and please see the syllabus for more information regarding that. In this class, iCollege will be crucial. It's completely asynchronous, and my communication with you will be via iCollege. So please check iCollege regularly, at minimum once a day. I will not be accepting any late assignments. Please see the syllabus for more details regarding that. And this class is virtual. And with that being said, I really, really want you guys to also connect with each other virtually, not just connect with me or just attending office hours. I want you to also connect with each other via WeChat, Skype, Zoom, whatever you got, group me. But with that being said, I would also want you to behave yourself in a professional and respectful manner. This is still a course. You are still representing not only yourself, but the school and everyone around you. So please act and behave professionally when interacting with anyone in the class. Also, do not share or accept information pertaining to any course quizzes or exams. That means do not share the questions or answers, and also do not receive questions and answers. That is a form of academic dishonesty and is taken very, very seriously in this course, especially with it being a virtual class. So, how do you succeed in this course? Numero uno, study, 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 okay? I know it's online. A big part of it is going to be self-motivation and time management, okay? So be sure to make sure you study for this course. Read the textbook and review the PowerPoints. I recommend reviewing my PowerPoints first and then going to the textbook because it'll kind of guide your reading. At the end of each PowerPoint, I do have a reading and resources section where I'll include assignments that will be helpful. Additionally, what sections of the chapter to really focus your reading on. You can, of course, I encourage you to read the entire chapter. However, there are certain sections of each chapter that I'll focus on more than others, and so that will be detailed at the end of each PowerPoint, as well as any videos or other resources that I think are helpful with your understanding. So at the end of each PowerPoint, you'll see that kind of slide, which is here to provide you with more assistance. Take good notes. If you don't know how to take good notes, please reach out to myself or anyone that you know who does know how to take good notes, because you will still need to take notes in this course. Participate and interact. Okay, it is virtual, but like I said, I really want us all to be interacting with each other. One good way of doing this is to attend my virtual office hours. These will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they will last about an hour and a half long. These office hours will be a good opportunity for you not only to ask questions for things that you don't have need more clarity on, but also to communicate with myself and with your fellow classmates, because it will be more of a group session, a group discussion, than just kind of me talking to you type of thing, because I think that can get a bit boring, and we all need to have some sort of communication with others throughout this quarantine period. And most importantly, ask for help early, okay? If you're struggling in this course, do not hesitate to ask for help. Do not wait until the end of the semester. Do not wait until you're already feel like you're drowning in material, okay? If you need help, you need additional resources, you're having some hard time, reach out to myself or to your fellow classmates for assistance, okay? And also complete your assignments on time, okay? Timely submission of assignments is important because I will not be accepting late assignments. Do not leave points on the table unnecessarily. Okay, so with that said, we're going to get into chapter 1, which are based on the principles of life. So any entity that undergoes metabolism and passes on its genetic information is considered to be living. So this includes plants, microorganisms, animals, fungi, a variety of things on Earth. The only thing that is not included in here are viruses, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the microorganisms section of this course. There are 6 defining characteristics of living things. They have chemical uniqueness, meaning that the contents within their cells or within them is distinct from the environment around them. They are complex and staged in a hierarchical organization. So you have individuals, communities, populations. Those are all hierarchical. You also have your cells, make tissues, make organ systems, also hierarchical. And even in the case of within just a single cell, you have proteins and macromolecules, which go to build into organelles, which then make up the cell, right? So there is some sort of hierarchy and complexity to all living things. All living things are able to reproduce. This can be both asexually or sexually, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but they can reproduce. All living things possess some sort of genetic material. This is generally DNA, nucleic acids. All living things can undergo metabolism. So this is how you generate energy, how you make macromolecules, how do you do those functions. All living things develop. They have some sort of defined stages of life. All living things interact with their environment. Even plants, as you can see in this picture over here, even plants interact with their environment. So how do they respond to stimuli? How do they respond to environmental changes? All living things can respond to their environment. Additionally, all living things can move at some point within their life cycle. So there's some sort of movement at some point throughout their existence. So first things first, chemical uniqueness. All living things are able to form complex macromolecules. The macromolecules that are most important to life that we generally talk about are nucleic acids, which are our DNA and our RNA, proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. These are the four major macromolecules that make up life, and they are generally in concentration, chemically distinct within an organism versus the environment around them. Complexity. So as we talked about, everything has a complex hierarchical organization. All living things organize themselves into some sort of hierarchy with ascending complexity. So where each level builds on the next. So as you can see in this image here, as I mentioned before, cells interact together to form tissues, which will then interact together to form organs, which will then make organ systems, make an organism. And then there's even beyond here an organism versus a population versus a community. So you can see this complexity kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go along, right? And we will talk definitely more about this not too long from now. Reproduction. All living organisms can reproduce. I love this little image here. It's very cute of this cat and all her kittens. And this is the process of passing on your genetic material to some sort of offspring. This can be, like I mentioned, sexual or asexual in nature, depending on what kind of organism you are. And there are two core principles of reproduction. Heredity, which is the transmission of genetic traits from parent to offspring. And so basically just your genetic material moves from you to your offspring. This may be in case of sexual reproduction, your genetic material bonds with the genetic material of your mate, and that is what makes a complete offspring. In the case of asexual, it's your entire genetic material is being moved over to the offspring. And the second concept here is variation. There are differences in traits between individuals. This can be seen, like I mentioned, in these cats. This is a cat and all her kittens. Her genetic material has been passed on to her offspring. However, there is some genetic variation in those traits, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on as well in this semester. But this generally arises due to mutations. And mutations are random changes in the genetic code, and it occurs at all stages of life, and gives us the variation and evolution that we see. Possession of genetic material. All organisms have genetic material in the form of nucleic acids or DNA that act as the blueprint for their life. So the DNA is the blueprint or the instructions that is then transcribed to make RNA, which then is translated to make proteins. And those proteins are what goes out in the cell and performs all the cellular processes that keep organism living, and are responsible for giving you the phenotypic traits that you can observe, or the organism, the phenotypic traits that you will observe. Also, genetic material is important for inheritance. So when an organism is reproducing, the genetic material provides the blueprints for life and for the traits that the offspring will have. So genetic material is essential for life. Without it, there is no base plan for how an organism should be constructed. Next, we have metabolism. All living organisms undergo metabolism in order to obtain nutrients for their own survival. And so in this case of this chameleon here, it's going to eat that bug, and then it's going to use the energy that it gets from digesting that bug and metabolizing that bug to increase its own biomass and for survival. Metabolism is an interaction between catabolic and anabolic reactions. In catabolism, you break molecular bonds to release energy. So in this picture here, this little diagram I drew here, you have a molecule, and every time you break some of these bonds, there's a release of energy. So as you're breaking down a molecule down to its atomic parts, you release energy, and that's catabolism. And the opposite is anabolism, which goes in the opposite direction, where you must input energy energy into a system so that you can build complex structures from atoms, individual atoms. There are three different types of metabolism are digestion, cellular respiration or respiration, and synthesis. Development. All living things go through stages of development. So they go through various life stages in order to reach maturity. These stages can be subtle or they can be drastic. One example that we're probably mostly familiar with is the development of a tadpole into a frog. The tadpole goes through various stages before it becomes a mature frog, where it actually is very different from the beginning in its early stages of development until its mature phase. All living things can interact with their environment. The interaction of an organism with its environment, both its biotic and abiotic components, is the study of ecology. All organisms respond to environmental stimuli. And so even in the case of when we look at these plants, how they will lean towards the light, or in the case of bacteria or even plants, when you have changes in temperature, will change the amount of water within their cells or the cholesterol within their cell membrane. They're all responding to some sort of environmental condition. All organisms need to respond to their environment in order to maintain homeostasis, but also to continue survival. All organisms can move at some point in their life. Even when you think of things that are sessile, like an anemone, at one point in their life cycle, they were motile. So this is a crucial element, and it requires the expenditure of energy to some extent to move. All right, so you have to get energy from whatever food source you had and use that energy in order to move. Within the broad category of life, one specific subsection are animals. And what makes an animal is difficult to define. However, all animals have some shared characteristics. All animals are eukaryotic, multicellular, heterotrophic. They undergo some sort of embryonic development. They are motile at some point in their life cycle, and they all have a blastula stage during early development. Animals are equally characterized by features that they don't have as much as characteristics that they do. So animals do not have a cell wall. That's usually characteristic of fungi and plants. They do not have hyphae, which is characteristic of fungi, and they do not have the ability to undergo photosynthesis, which is a characteristic associated with plants, some bacteria, and algae. With all that said, that concludes our lecture on Chapter 1 and the introduction to this course. I recommend you go ahead and start reading Chapter 1 with a focus on Chapter 1, Sections 1 and 2, and then to also complete the Smart Book Chapter 1 assessment. Alrighty, have a good one.